Will Boston College pull off the major upset on Monday against Florida State? We have our predictions.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy fixes tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used without other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com. Again, this is AJ Black. Thank you for listening to Locked On BC. I hope you guys are all daily listeners at this point. We're a daily Boston College podcast, and we are there. The week one has already begun. It's going full steam on Saturday, but we have to wait till Monday as BC plays FSU. We have predictions and all sorts of good stuff today, but as we always do before a game, we are joined by Mitchell Wolfe of Eagle Insider. Mitch, how's it going? Mitch?
It's going well. Just came in fresh off of. I can hear me. I can hear you?
Yep, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We'll cut that. I'm doing good. Just came in from watching North Dakota State go into the half, leading Colorado. So I'm super psyched about that.
So yeah, we love watching teams that deserve to lose. And speaking of teams that deserve to lose, or we like to watch lose, let's talk about the Florida State Seminoles. Are they still ranked number 10 or did they move them down?
I can't imagine they still are. I just had the thing open on FanDuel Sportsbook, make every moment more. I will get back to you in a second. Okay. I can't imagine they are still 10. That would be crazy. All right. They are 10th. Holy crap. Wow. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe they didn't even do the new poll yet. But
that's crazy.
After watching them get beaten up in Dublin, what are your takes on what this Noles team is like?
I think it's tough because you obviously think, oh, okay, they can be beaten. They're probably not worthy of that top 10 ranking. A lot of the hype in the offseason about them, maybe it's not true. But the problem is now they've been awoken. They're not going to be sleepwalking. If they had, handled Georgia Tech with ease, they might have sleptwalked through BC. I can't remember who they play at. I think they have a bye after BC, so it doesn't even matter. But they might just, been like, it's BC. Like we had some issues with them last year, but we're back home. Like it won't be a big problem. But now they're, on high alert. They're at DEFCON 1. They're going to be ready to they're going to be a lot more disciplined on both sides of the ball because I think watching that game especially in the trenches and on defense, they just looked like they didn't care. Like their defensive line, which is very highly touted, is just getting blown off the ball like every play. Their linebackers, defensive backs are taking terrible angles, not tackling well. And on offense, they just seemed out of sync, which, it's week 0. They're, in a different country. It's fair for that. You have basically an entirely new set of skill position players, including the quarterback. So it's fair to expect some hiccups there. But, DJU kind of just looked like he's looked for the last, half decade or however long he's been playing college football.
Yeah, it definitely did not seem like a fired up team. So why do you think they're going to be different this week, though?
I just think now it's kind of like they realize, okay, we can't just sleepwalk through opponents who are, less talented than we are, because I think, we can quibble about it, but I think most people would agree that BC is less talented from top to bottom than Florida State. I think you're going to see the one thing that I didn't know going into the game last week was that Alex Atkins, their offensive coordinator, was suspended for the first 3 weeks for, I think, recruiting violations. So he'll be suspended for this game too, which I think is big. But I do think they're really going to focus on being disciplined, executing assignments on the offensive line and on defense. I think you're going to see them be more aggressive on defense. They were super passive last week, playing a lot of too high shells, a lot of middle field open coverages, kind of just letting Georgia Tech just run wherever they wanted. And they weren't that, and they didn't blitz much. They just kind of relied on the talent of their defensive line, which ultimately wasn't good enough. So, I think that they're going to change up some of those things. I think they're going to really get on the players about run discipline and tackling and stuff. So I think you're going to see a different Florida State team. They'll also be back home, and playing a home game at Florida State is a completely different universe than playing at a neutral site in Dublin.
Yeah, you don't have to fly across the country, across the world to do that. Now, you talked a little bit about DJU. You scout, you watch lots of film. Talk about what kind of quarterback he is.
DJU is a conundrum inside an enigma inside a contradiction because you look at him and you see Cam Newton basically. You see this dude who's huge and it was incredible. I think I texted you this when the
Yep.
game started. Like he looked like he slimmed down. He looked like a superhero. Like the jersey was just fitting perfectly. I was like, God, this this guy looks and that's the thing. He just looks the part. But the problem is like once things start flying, he kind of really falls apart. And I will say that there were a few times, especially I think it was their final offensive drive. He had some really nice throws over the middle, and later in the game, he finally gets into a rhythm, gets used to his receivers. But early in the game, they really weren't letting him do a lot, just having a lot of short throws to the running backs, and then then they tried to push it a little more deep, he would miss. And there's a lot of reasons why. Like, I think there are times where he's just not that accurate, like that one pass to the running back in the flat where the running back did drop it, but because you put it in a bad place. And there are multiple times where, and I saw this on a video that I posted on our message board that these guys, whoever at the Florida State 24/7 site, they went back and watched the film and they were saying, yeah, like he's got to put the ball other places to give these receivers a better chance to create run after the catch opportunities, which is a big with even though Florida State's receivers aren't experienced, they're very fast and very elusive. So at least give them a chance to do something, which he didn't really do. And then the other thing is, I think that when the defense really changes the picture after the snap, if they present something before the snap and then rotate to a different coverage, I think that really confuses him. And I think that's why there were times where he was getting pressured. He only got sacked once. There was another one that got called back because of a face mask penalty where the right tackle just got beat off the ball. But a lot of times where he was taking pressure and just standing in the pocket. And it's weird because he is so big, but he runs like a guy like that I would expect a guy of Thomas Castellanos' size to run. And Castellanos almost runs more like a guy like DJU, 6'4", 250, the way he's throwing his body around, which is crazy. So he's just a very difficult quarterback to evaluate because you see him, you see the good things, and you want it to be consistent, but it's just not. And I think that they'll get better this week. Another week of practice, another kind of honing of the playbook of what they want to do. But the good thing for him is that BC secondary has a lot of questions. Florida State's offensive line is very experienced. I never thought they were really that good to begin with. We'll see what BC's defensive line can do, but I would say DG has had middling success against BC. 2022 is great, but that whole season was kind of messed up. But in 2020 and 2021, BC did a pretty good job against him. So we'll have to see what happens because I think that he is really going to be the catalyst for them. Because if BC can get him to struggle early and often, then BC has a chance to pull another upset.
All right. In a moment, I want to talk to Mitch about what BC has to do to win and what will happen for Florida State to win. We'll get into all that in just a moment. Fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-created meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you're always having time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? Crush your wellness goal this August with dietitian approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is still active. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance with superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here, and I am joined by Mitchell Wolfe. And Mitch, we're talking that Florida State game. For all of you out there that have not done so already, please like and subscribe to Locked On BC. And when you're done with this episode, check that out on Locked On ACC. I'm sure they're not giving Boston College any respect in this game because that's usually what they do. So let's talk about this game a little bit more, Mitch. Let's be a little bit positive. I saw some of the other BC podcasts out there. There was one podcast, I think, that had 4 guys on it, Eagles Weekly or whatever, and they had all 4 guys pick BC to win, I think. And what does BC have to do to win this game?
So my biggest thing in this game for BC I would say on offense is I think that they need to start very fast. I think you need to throw the first punch, it needs to land, and you need to get Florida State in a position where they are chasing you. Because I think that's the position that they are least comfortable in, especially with how DJU performed last week, how their offensive line couldn't really get much going in the run game. Again, I think all that will be better, but for BC to win, there's kind of 2 worlds here. There's the world where BC can win, and there's what I think is more realistic and what's going to happen. And the Venn diagram is pretty much 2 circles at this point. So I think you need to hit on a lot of explosive plays early and often, which is tough to do. But, Thomas Castellanos does have that kind of penchant for those kind of plays. So if you can reel off 2 quick scores and put Florida State behind the proverbial 8 ball, I think that's huge because you want DJU to be pressing and try and hit that big play to bring them back in the game. That also allows your pass rush to pin their ears back, play the pass more, not have to worry about stopping the run as much. Obviously, that early in the game you have to do that, but later in the game, once if you're up by 2 scores going into the 4th, then all you need to do is pass rush. You don't need to worry about the other team running the ball as much. So you need to be very aggressive, and I think you need to be very aggressive on both sides of the ball. We saw how aggressive Georgia Tech was with flying downhill, getting in the gaps, stopping the run, and blitzing DJU. Depending on where you ask or where you look at the stat on True Media, I think they blitzed like 37% of his dropbacks, which is high, but nothing crazy. But on Pro Football Focus, they said he was blitzed on 58% of his dropbacks, which is crazy. So you need to do that. You need to deploy as many like simulated pressures, crazy blitz looks that you can to confuse him. And ideally you can turn that into a turnover, short field, keep scoring. Because I think that in how this game would go, I think if you kind of play the traditional underdog scenario where it's like, hold on to the ball, control possession, control the clock. I'm not sure I think that honestly plays more into Florida State's hands because it means everything is open for both teams, which I think is just going to kind of slow things down, which last week's game was like one of the slowest in many years. There was a stat or a thing that I saw. I forget the guy's exact name on Twitter, but there were 14 possessions in this game, which is the fewest in an FBS game since 2020. And there were 3 of them in 2020. So that was kind of an outlier year, but we're seeing that with these new clock rules and now with these in-helmet communications, teams are running down the play clock more. So there are less time, less possessions, less scoring. So I don't think BC is well suited to a game where it's like a 1 possession game going into the final, 6 minutes or whatever, just because then it's a coin flip game. I think you need to be aggressive throughout the entire game. And, if you get burned by Florida State explosive plays, you end up losing, then, you kind of went out swinging, if you will. I think that if they kind of just try to win this game on the margins with, just extended drives, I just don't think that's going to work in their favor.
All right. So what do you think Florida State has to do to win this game?
I mean, I think they kind of just need to change up their entire defensive philosophy, play a lot more aggressive. And, I think they're going to do that because I think they kind of expected Haynes King to throw the ball around a little more because he was pretty good at that last year. And then they didn't, I think he only had like 16 dropbacks or something against Florida State. So I think you're going to see them load the box a lot more. They have a very new linebacking core. They only have 1 starter back from last year, DJ Lundy, who's kind of their Vinny DePalma. So they're rotating guys in. I think you could also see less rotation of players. I think that just like stick with their guys a little more. So I think you're going to see them be a lot more aggressive with getting guys in the box, stop the run, and then blitzing. Although they didn't really love to blitz last year because of Castellanos' ability to get outside and create. So maybe not as much of that, but they'll try to use that contain rush that we talked about. On offense, it's weird because I do think like the initial game plan they had, the first drive and the scripted drive at the beginning of the game is always great. there's our friend Parker Fleming, Stats of War on Twitter. He loves posting the meme where it's Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, where he says, "Very nice, very nice. Now let's see the unscripted drives," which is always the, because everybody, scripts out their first two drives. It's like, oh, it worked perfectly. And then once you just start calling plays off the sheet, it's like, all right, well, now we're screwing up a little bit. So, you saw some good flashes of that. And so if you're Florida State, again, I think that close game mentality favors you because of how experienced you are. And as long as you don't make and honestly, they didn't have a ton of killer mistakes. The game just developed in such a weird way. And I think some of the issues honestly were play calling. Some of Mike Norvell's play calls, especially on second and long and third and long, I was just like, what are we doing? The one right before the half where they ran that outside run and they basically lost yardage down to kick a 59-yard field goal, which they made, which is insane. That was weird. So, I think you're just going to see a lot of things be just the opposite of because okay, last week it didn't work. We're going to switch things up, change our whole mentality. And, at the end of the day, like I said, they have a lot more talent than BC does from top to bottom. So, as long as you don't make any killer mistakes and you can kind of control the pace of the game, then they should be able to win this one.
All right. In our final segment in just a moment, Mitch and I are going to give our predictions. Will we pick Boston College to win? You have to wait. We'll talk about it in just a moment. Grab a 5-hour energy shot to stay alert to watch all your favorite games. Or if you stayed up late to see the intense overtime game, take a 5-hour energy shot in the morning so you can get your day started. I love 5-hour energies. I use them all the time. When I was a runner, they were always good to give me a boost. But when I'm up late writing or doing podcasting, I always take one too. Gives me the energy I need to make full because it has no sugar and a convenient portable side. It's the perfect pick me up for getting stuff done. And with many different flavors, including watermelon, tropical burst, grape berry, and more, there's a flavor for everyone. So you got to try them all. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get 5-hour energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. So go to 5hourenergy.com today. This is Locked On BC, AJ Black. I am the editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 network. We are an incredible network of of team sites for whatever team you want. I run the Boston College site. Mitch is my writer, and we put out great information. I have some hockey updates coming up for BC Hockey Blogger. Right now, for the next 4 days, we have 75% off a subscription. You can get in for $2.28 a month, I believe it is. For every month for 12 months. You can get in for 75% off. Sign up today. Get over to Eagle Insider. I hope to see you there. If you've been thinking about it, it's a perfect time to take advantage of that deal. All right. Mitch, I'm going to make you wait because I'm going to tell my prediction for this game. And I've had it. I was on another podcast earlier this week. A couple Knowles podcasts have asked me to come on. And I've sat on what I think is going to be the prediction. The spread is 15. I'm not very confident. I'm pretty confident that BC is going to cover. And I think there's enough explosiveness and Florida State, whatever happened last week, then I think there'll be just enough residual effect to cause us to get closer. I think BC will have a couple big plays. And I'm one piece that I am worried about is that this is the first game for BC and not for Florida State. And I think BC might come out a little rusty. I expect a little bit about that. And I especially am worried about what the offensive line is going to look like, especially we don't know what's going on with Jude Bowery and Logan Taylor. So right now I'm going to have Boston College losing this game 31-20. What's your thoughts?
We're about in the same thing. I think I'm sticking with 31 for Florida State. So we're both confident that they're going to kind of score some more points, get some things figured out. I'm kind of taking the negative view of BC in terms of offense. I think they could hit one or two explosive plays, maybe early. But I think Florida State will match them and then BC won't be able to keep it up basically. So I'm going with something like 30. I'm going to say 31-17. I'd probably prefer like 31-21 but because I think BC probably won't try to kick many field goals. But I feel very strongly that the under is going to hit. Currently, it's at 50.5. I got it at 51.5 on FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. So I feel really good about that. I feel BC could cover, but I wouldn't. But that's not where I would put my money. I think it's 16.5 right now, because that is a good number, because I could see Florida State getting in a last touchdown to extend it or something, and I feel like that could be a heartbreaking cover by Florida State. So I wouldn't put money on that. I would do the under. But yeah, I think that the point about Florida State having a game under their belt, even though it was a loss, is definitely in their favor. I think BC gets a bit of an advantage because they don't have any film out on them because they haven't played a game under Bill O'Brien or Tim Lewis on their side of the ball. So you have a little bit of the element of surprise there. But I do honestly think I agree with you that having the game experience is more valuable than having a film advantage in the element of surprise. So 31-17. I think this is competitive for the first half, but then I think Florida State will eventually start pulling away in the second.
Yeah, I think they've got too many weapons, and I know they didn't play effectively enough. But I really do think Mike Norvell's a good enough coach. And again, I don't think this game should be a reflection on anything about Bill O'Brien.
No,
because
it goes the same way for last week, Florida State. It's a 1-game sample size. Like, it's a long season. Like, I would say, like, don't overreact to this game, and that's why I'm not trying not to overreact to last week as well.
Right. All right, Mitch. Let's call this a show. Where can people find your work?
You can find it at Eagle Insider and on my Twitter at Mitchell T. Wolfe, WOLFE. We just published a lot of stuff this week about Florida State, BC's season. By the time you're listening to this, my weekly preview that's free everything's free on the site now. To encourage people to subscribe, but so that means my matchup report will be on there, which is very in-depth breakdown of Florida State's scheme, their players, who's going to be playing for Florida State and BC, and then my weekly preview, which is kind of more. It's less granular. It's more kind of about the keys to victory and the matchups to watch, and then some other predictions. So that'll be coming up if you're listening to this on Friday, and then obviously game's Monday, so we've got a whole weekend just to watch the rest of college football and enjoy. And on Sunday, I'm sure that those scaries will be like, oh my God, BC's gonna be on national television, the only game on.
Yep. I'm excited for it. So I'll have another episode on Sunday. I have not honestly thought what I'm going to talk about, but I'm sure there will be stuff. So thank you all for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Become an Eagle Insider, but also join our Eagles Nest as well, where you can get texts from me and ask questions. I'd send videos, all sorts of good stuff there. The details to sign up are in the show notes. I hope you consider it. It's a great way to support the podcast. Thank you all again. We'll be back again on Monday for another episode of Locked On Boston College. The season's almost here. Your team every day.